What was the biggest misconception that you had as a child? I thought having a job was just you picking a company you like, waltz in, find an empty spot and start doing something. I had no concept of interviews, tests, and all the paperwork involved.
To be fair, some of the older generation act like that's the way it is, when giving advice.
My grandfather told us stories that it used to be like that. There was a severe labor shortage, so you'd walk into a factory in the morning, and get hired on the spot. If you didn't like the work, you'd quit after a short period, and just go to the factory next door. Repeat. He said he had about 16 jobs in 1 week at one time. Some factory work is still like that. Source: worked in a factory. Was hired on the spot and told to report for work that same day. I thought you could order the people modeling the clothes in the Sears and J.C. Penney catalogs. I just assumed that's where babies came from, and I used to spend hours looking at all the baby boy models, trying to pick out the perfect baby brother for my mom to order. My mom was humored by my efforts, but I never did get that baby brother.
That everyone I ever heard about was from my country. Eminem? French. The Pop? French. The Rolling Stones? French, of course. Elizabeth too? Congrats, you're now the Queen of France.
That last one got me, mate.
There's a great line from the movie A Knight's Tale: the Pope might be French, but Jesus was English. For a while there, I thought Elemento was a letter.
I thought a potluck was where everyone brought food to a party and put it all in one giant pot. Then, you would scoop out a plate full. And whatever you got was your luck.
That actually sounds fun.
And disgusting.
I mean, with a little bit of planning, you can make a nice stew that way. It would be pretty bad if everyone else brought stew stuff, and Karen decided to bring Jell-O and then insist on also putting it in the stew.
All dogs were male, all cats were females.
I thought this too. I remember being little and seeing this lady walking her dog, and being rude and just running up and petting it, and asked her what his name was. She said her name was Sarah or something, and I was like, "It's a girl?" And looked at her like she was stupid, because there's no way there's such a thing as girl dogs.
I thought drinking and driving meant having any beverages in a vehicle, and had no clue about alcohol. In kindergarten I reported my mom for drinking and driving in the middle of a school assembly, and they called her in for a meeting. Everyone thought it was hilarious, but no one corrected me or taught me what it really meant, and I think it was like 6th or 7th grade before it all clicked.
I mean, drinking and driving is a weird expression. It should be called driving drunk instead.
I thought that too. My dad without fail, always had a can of Pepsi when we went for a drive, and I was so ashamed of him drinking and driving every single day.
Me too. I saw a billboard while we were driving somewhere and my mom had a can of Coke and I freaked out. "Mom, you're not supposed to drink and drive." The sign says. She about lost control of the car, she was laughing so hard.
In elementary school we would sing the national anthem at every assembly. The words were on a projection screen but I wasn't quite reading yet. Instead of singing "O Canada," I would sing O'Callahan, my last name. I saw the O and CA, and since it looked very similar to my last name I just assumed everyone sang about me at every assembly.
That quicksand was going to be quite an important factor in my life, a very real danger lurking around every corner. Quite disappointing to find that's not the case.
I've been in quicksand. It's pretty boring tbh. I did need help to get out though.
I stepped in it before and thought all that training in elementary school finally paid off. But I just stepped out of it. By how often stop, drop, and roll, was drilled into my head as a child, I was pretty sure people would regularly burst into spontaneous flames, and it simply hadn't happened to me yet.
They taught us about stop, drop, and roll in kindergarten, but they didn't make it clear that you only do that when you're on fire. The first fire drill we had, several of us stopped, dropped and rolled with no fire in sight.
Up until I was 19 I thought coffee cake contained coffee, or at least was coffee flavored.
Wait, they don't?
No, I had some last summer, and apparently it's just cake you would eat in the morning with coffee. It was actually really good.
It's more like yellow cake, with a cinnamon swirl in the middle of it, and sugar and cinnamon on top. It's tasty.
Coffee cake is the bomb. The best way to describe it is cinnamon and sugar swirl cake. It pairs well with coffee, like eat a bit of coffee cake then have some coffee. The flavors complement each other.
Bet all women took their teeth out at night. My mom, grandma, and closest aunt all had dentures and took their teeth out at night. I thought something happened when you became a grown woman that made you be able to take your teeth out. Men were exempt from this, because my dad didn't take his teeth out at night.
I thought a cakewalk was like the relay race with the egg on the spoon, but you held a cake and tried not to fall over.
In my first lesson playing rugby, the teacher explained that unlike football, passing must go backwards. I never played football, and I took this to mean I had to throw the ball behind me. So whenever I had the misfortune to actually have hold of the ball, I would immediately blindly throw it in the opposite direction to where I was facing. My teammates did not appreciate this.
Checks equals infinite money. I came to this conclusion because whenever my parents got big stuff like cars, TVs, etc., they would write check instead of pay cash. Whenever my mom said we couldn't get something, I'd tell her to write a check for it.
What's something that you believed as a child? Let us know in the comments below. Don't forget to like and subscribe to get the best of Left on Reddit.